Dear Venerables and Dhamma friends, we are going to start today's Dhamma session. I would like to invite Venerable Buddha Rakkhita to present the question already written to start the session.
Dear Bhante, when I get into deep meditation, I sweat heavily and my mouth gets wet. It is difficult to stop when it happens without getting out of meditation. Please explain to me how to stop this while meditating.
This is the way that whenever we are going to do meditation, that utu, that is seasonal, or in the sense heat, cold, or water element or air element or one other thing will sometimes get agitated, and so therefore it appear like something disturbing the mindfulness. But of course no, you can understand that now that particular visitor has come and calling you. You have to just say that this is the one who has come. So don't consider it as an enemy. And likewise, when Jnanarama used to say, the yogi must understand the language of the elements. This is the way they are talking. All of a sudden, the salivation or you feel liquid nature in the throat or in the mouth, or sometimes tears, sometimes many ways. And sometimes you feel heat and cold. And when and where comes, just don't try to communicate with, just understand. That is to say that you must understand their language, and usually what happens is we have no self-awareness. They come and go, they are sometimes maybe coming for a message, we are other directed. Whenever the mind go inside, these things can happen. Those who have the self-awareness too much, they also become panic about whenever such a thing happens. So till it come up to the middle way, each day you may find one or the other. So therefore it is a good sign to indicate that sensitivity is increased, and one of the elements is come and talking. And when I was in Burma, there was a very elderly Bangladesh monk. And whenever he is seriously meditating, 88 years old or something like that, he says, you feel like urinating, you feel like defecating, and the liquidity going to happen. And he directly reported, then Sayadaw told, this is the way they happen. If you feel like, go to the toilet mindfully and come back and sit, mindfulness never get disturbed. And if you want to swallow the salivation, do it in a mindful way, and then you may find even though you anticipate, mindfulness never break, and you can just go through the difficulty, and then it is a kind of a hardening process, seasoning process of the same mindfulness.
Dear Bhante, during your Dhamma talk, you mentioned that currently what we see only the middle of the breath, and once the mindfulness is sharpened, we will be able to see the beginning, middle, and end of the breath. Can you please explain what you mean by seeing the breath? Currently, I can only sometimes feel the breath, but couldn't see. I am a bit confused over this and feel not up to the standard to see even the middle of the breath.
So that you may, instead of the see, you may use the term feel. Then the answer will be there.
Dear Bhante, when I am meditating, sitting or walking, when I am focused on the primary object, I can still hear the screeching sound of cockatoos. My thought is whether I am shifting my focus from my primary object to the surrounding sounds and allowing my mind to wander.
So these sounds are not addressing to you, they come and go. They are comes to go. So therefore, simply we can say, don't disturb cockatoo sounds. You mind your own business. So that is why it says, you are the person disturbing that sound by paying attention and amplifying it, kind of thing. Instead you have your fair friend, that is the primary object, and they come and go. And if the mind going to get disturbed, or mind is wandering, it will do the task. Don't worry. And if the sound of the cockatoo is too sharp, too prominent, definitely the attention goes. And it's a very good example. That is to say, while you are in the meditation, may say, while you are in the primary object, a sound may come and go, thought may come and go, wandering mind come and go. When it is happening, once it is wandered off due to the sound, pain and thoughts, will the mind naturally come back to the primary object, or you have to pull it back with your effort? It's a very interesting point. When the mind becomes more seasoned with the meditation, of course it goes out, and once it is wandered off, naturally it comes back to the primary object. So those who are always find a reason to be worried, never appreciate that natural coming back. Natural coming back is a gift. It is due to your repetitive application, mind come back. If in order to conspicuously see this gift, distraction must be there. When the distraction, our mind goes out, and when on the return journey, if you are observing with undisturbed mind, whether returning happen due to your pulling or due to happening naturally, if it is the day you understand, now my mind is occasionally, after the distraction come naturally, that will be the best friend for you to till up to the Nibbana. So that is all you have earned throughout your spiritual life. It goes off, but naturally come back. So in order to test this, there should have kind of a distraction. So one day you may say, thank you cockatoos. Oh, but you mean the distraction. All the distractions testing you, whether your mindfulness is up to the mark. And once you come up to the mark, distraction will be below the knee level. And you are not you are not disturbed, they are not inflicting. So therefore, don't think it is necessarily it is disturbing your mind. Necessarily it is bewildering your mind. Put the mindfulness into test.
Dear Bhante, my mindfulness has improved, and when I have pain or hear sounds, I vigorously and diligently note, which takes me to a deeper level of something. After a few seconds, of samadhi, after a few seconds, I feel I am looking into another dimension. For example, a knowing, a feeling of peace. Would appreciate it if you could comment and advise and give me directions as to how I should proceed. Thank you.
So once you come to know this kind of advancement, each and every distraction, each and every wandering will be another question paper or another test for you to be prepared. More and more serious, difficult question papers may come, and each and every time you answer, you will be upgraded. That is the way the mindfulness. Our mind is such a dynamic thing, never rest, always either deteriorating or advancing. So when such a thing happens, it is more towards your determination power, the concentration power. So more and more difficult questions, difficult challenges, mishaps happen. So more and more you practice, you see that the way, the seen through is not a borrowed one. That you yourself is assimilating, and 1001 will failure, but one single thing. You know, in Buddha, it says, Viryavato panaking namana sijjati. The person who is either zest, the energy, what is the thing that can block him? Because he keep on knocking, one day he will break through. So that is the way Dhamma become lively, Dhamma become more dynamic. So only this kind of a Dhamma living in a meditator's heart, never on the books, never on the places. So you have to put yourself into the practice.
Dear Bhante, when I do Anapanasati, my breath becomes unnoticeable within 5 to 10 minutes and never comes back to the natural manner until I stop meditation. According to your advice, I tried to keep my mindfulness, but I get a chest pain. Maybe I am putting too much effort into keeping the mindfulness. As the primary object disappears, I could hear all the background noises, my heartbeat, and even the pulses of my hands. I can meditate for 1 hour without changing my posture, but now I change my posture a couple of times within an hour as a result of the chest pain. Please explain the reason for it and advise on how to overcome it, as it's really uncomfortable.
So of course when the breath stops, feel like suffocation, specifically if you are not well seasoned, and therefore kind of a pain happen. Yet another thing, you have to check the tilt of your head. If it is sometimes bent, you tend to feel kind of a chest pain. So you can instead of changing the posture, that also you can put into test. And the other thing is that you are already on the process. Now you are familiarizing. 1 hour you can. Sometimes you can do away without changing the posture. And then now we have put that changing posture also into the combination. Still you can see mindfulness is working. That means mind is always now searching the ways out. And don't accelerate it. Don't try to be smart. Just keep on practicing. And the weakest point, the mind will break and get reinforced, get galvanized. So therefore, don't torture yourself. Don't inflict any kind of thing. But keep the challenge all the time, so there won't be any slimy or sleepiness sets in. No doubts. You will keep on working, and ultimately you will be the winner. And when and where the necessary energies come in align with, seeing through and piercing through happen. So this is the way you have to assimilate your own path, and it is happening only through trial and error. I feel when I'm listening, the striving is going on. That is something appreciable.
Dear Bhante, last night after the Q&A session, I went to my room and meditated for about 30 minutes before I went to sleep. I saw a nightmare where something like my astral body got separated from my physical body and was rising up. When it rose from my body, it had an unhappy, angry face, and the astral body could see my physical body, which was lying on the bed. I woke up and was so scared since then. I was sleepy the whole day today, and I slept a couple of times as I couldn't concentrate on meditation at all. The nightmare I had the night before may be the reason. Normally after the Q&A sessions, I go straight to bed without meditating. Yesterday was the only day I had good meditation before going to bed. I was surprised, as after a good meditation session, I am seeing these weird dreams. I am confused. Please advise.
So this is the way you are learning how to attend to your own funeral. You can see the corpse is there, and you have to go in according to the Sri Lankan way. Anicca sankara upada vaya dhammino uppajjitva nirujjanti te sangupa sukho. Monks come and recite, and if you are listening as a corpse, you can attend to your own funeral. So this is happy like a wisdom on fear. It's a barrier. Bhayatupatthana jnana, when and where you see the reality, you are so scared to give up your values. likings and disliking. So when the meditation going on, it's always going against the grain. So not that you don't like the truth, but the thing is you can't give up already accepted facts, already your, dogmas. So therefore this has to happen. Of course, this is kind of challenging. Few days you develop kind of a phobia to go into meditation, and unless otherwise you have any mental imbalance or kind of thing, this has to go through. After a number of events, sometimes when you are meditating, you feel like one part of the body dissolved off, or one part of it is scattered off, and sometimes it is putrefied and rotting. So when these things happen, of course, kind of the tension arises, and this is also something like that. So therefore, if such a thing happen while you are in a sitting posture, in a group sitting or something like that, you can handle easily. But when it is happening in the sleeping posture alone, this kind of thing happen. So therefore, this indicates how much we have the desire or bondage to our body and the life. Definitely, of course, it is something intrinsic in the living being. So in order to develop the faith, energy, mindfulness, concentration and wisdom, this very love to the body and the life is the one we are always wrestling with. Slowly, you go ahead. The very first retreat I had in 1979 when Mr. Munindraji from India, he told, of course it was in English, my English was not so good at that time, he told, the day you go through the death, next day you will be so on. So deathlessness happens through death. So you have to slowly deal it with, and without seeing the death, you never go to deathlessness. So our resistant value, our tolerance, our forbearance is, though slowly we are sacrificing our likings and disliking, our personality traits, our liking to the body and the life, they are slowly giving challenge. So when and where we get stuck, meditation going to be a whirlpool rotating in the same place. So more and more you ready to donate or ready to give up, ready to be generous, the development happens without a friction. So therefore, live up to this. And when Jnanarama, my teacher, used to say, before you are going to take the sitting, for example in a group sitting, remind and reflect upon your virtues and offer your body and the life to the Buddha, offer your body and the life to the Dhamma, offer your body and the life to the Sangha, and then keep on meditating. Then day by day you prepare your mindset in order to face this kind of thing. So this is the effectivity of the meditation, but our acceptance of the very results is a separate issue. As far as you are meditating, mind is going forward, so you have to have a confidence or faith in par with that advancement, then it is progressing. So therefore, it's from the analytical point of view, it's a sign to be, it's a progressing sign. Only thing is you have to develop enough confidence to face it. And faith is the factor that you have to boost up, have a booster dose.
Dear Venerable Sir, I am not a complete beginner to meditation, and as in my previous questions, I am able to enjoy the bliss of being here and now or contemplating the Dhamma, free of any other thoughts creeping in or disturbing for a little while. When I am then bringing my attention to the primary object, the breath, I always fall asleep very quickly. I feel this is due to a lack of interest in the object, as I have watched the breath for some time. Although the breath is beautiful, I feel too comfortable and at home with it. Could you please advise what I must do to overcome this situation if I am to proceed with my practice? Perhaps you may have a suggestion for me of another primary object to observe. Thank you.
Talking about two vibrations or two equilibriums, one thing is very wide. You just know, here now I am. That means just being. And that is a flat kind of experience. Instead, there are some waves in the in-breath and out-breath. And there you can focus into. And while focusing, you may be with the breath. And it appears, as long as you are keeping on with the breath, sometimes monotonous or sometimes boring. And the breath also, the difference between the in-breath and out-breath also disappear. Under such circumstances, either you can see the picture or the canvas. What I mean by the canvas is the flat experience, here now I am. What I mean by the picture is this rising and falling, in-breath and out-breath, all the cyclic things. So you have to be strategic to use these two modes in a way to keep the mindfulness awake. And as far as you can go to the here now I am, don't worry whether you have a primary object or not. I would put it in this way: the mindfulness with primary object is inferior with respect to the mindfulness without my object. The concentration you have with an object is inferior when you are comparing with the concentration without an object. That is called animitta samadhi or animitta sati. So that is the way at the beginning you are shifting the attention from the canvas to the picture or picture to the canvas. Nothing to worry about the changing the object. When and where the object about to dissolve off, when object become boring, you may see or you may see through the picture to see the canvas, that is, here now I am. That is to say, I am not dead, I am not sleeping, I am not unconscious. And so that is a big tapestry. So be skillful or be strategic to make use one or the other thing to be in the present moment or to maintain the mindfulness.
Dear Bhante, sometimes in the past when I was practicing Anapanasati, nimittas appeared and it absorbed my mind into it. Inside the nimitta, it was like a fascinating fountain of lights, continuously flowing on my face, where I couldn't feel my body and was unaware of things happening around me. I reached this stage through the continuous concentration on my breath. I know that this is towards the samatha practice. Now, when I started meditating, the breath becomes unnoticeable, but I could notice many things that you have discussed in your Dhamma talks. At times bright lights are visible, but nimitta doesn't appear anymore. Now it looks like vipassana. In Dhamma talks you mentioned that it is possible to practice samatha and vipassana both together. As far as I am aware, an object is required in order to attain jhana. Since I have almost lost my object, that is of the breath and the rising and falling, it looks like the path to jhana is blocked, even though I can keep my mindfulness. My questions are, is there a way that I can practice samatha meditation again? And also, please advise on how to practice samatha and vipassana together. Please advise and correct me if I have any misunderstandings on these. Thank you.
I think if one point clear, the situation will be more easy to understand. When and where you see the nimitta, if I am using the same term, nimitta, very first time you see, of course once it is matured, it's very fascinating, very attractive, and it's a fountain of light. But when you are to see again and again its attractiveness, fascination reduces. That is a normal thing. When you are in a hungry situation and when you are eating a plate of rice or meal, the first morsel is very tasty. The second thing is not so. One day after your stomach is filled, you will leave the balance. What is leaving is not so tasty like the first morsel. So this is the thing, and that is also something you will experience. The other one is the changing from samatha to vipassana is not at your discretion. It is not how to call it, not at your control. When and where the light signal or light perception becoming organized and become moon-like or plate-like, that indicates some other kind of organization. Sometimes it is just keep the mind bright, not allowing for the sleep, but the light is very active. It is very dynamic. So there is also kind of a concentration, maybe from vipassana. So keep on trying without monitoring or without steering or without having a preconceived idea, because this mental state is praiseworthy. At this mental state, the mind itself knows rather than your rational thinking. So best to give the helm to this mind to continue, and your main duty is not to allow any distractions to happen. Keep the situation open so it knows where to go. Just like water flowing to the lowest point, lowest contour. So meditation, now the mind is having a lot of qualities. That means not associating the past, not in the future. That means no regret, no excitement. And not much attracted into it or not much distracted into it. Not sleepy, not overexcited. These 4-6 qualities indicate now fairly in a balance, but of course not in the absorption as such. And on top of that, the energy, in the aspect, if it is too much, again agitation happens. If it is too low, sleepiness can happen. So energy must be equal. And you may understand as the meditation goes on, the input of energy, demand for the input of energy is becoming less and less. Things become effortless. So this is also one thing. And other faculties are balanced. So these are the things or switchboard you have to monitor to see, and don't push to go into the samatha samadhi or vipassana samadhi because you have no choice. Only thing you can do is keep away from the nivaranas on din and there basis or continuous basis. Whatever it may be, the state of mind is praiseworthy and it is working more towards your well-being than your rational thinking. So therefore just surrender and let the mindfulness or the pure mind to take the decision and go ahead.
So the question is that, just for the audience, is that, does the mind involuntarily go towards samatha or vipassana, and is this based on one's background, one's karma or training? Is that correct? Yes.
Yeah, that is the thing that you have to clearly understand. You give the conducive condition, you do away with all the distraction and let the mind grow. And your karmic background or your personality traits has to reveal, has to lead as it happens. So therefore, till you introduce the till you get rid of certain amount of nivaranas, you have to exert so much of energy and take care about the details. Once the nivaranas are little gone away, you have to believe much upon the developed mind or refined mind, and it knows the well-being. Patipakka vigamanena gambiropi dhammo supakato bhaveya. It says whenever the impediments are removed, the profundity of Dhamma will be very clear. Effortlessly it happens. You have nothing to study, nothing to steer. You have to steer at the moral restrainment level. Very aggressively you have to do it, because it is going against the grain. And when as far as the nivaranas are reactive, whether you like it or not, so much of energy it is demanding. Once it has come up to there, you feel effortlessly things are happening, but still our rational mind, preconceived ideas, trying to capitalize the situation, try to be smart, try to be accelerated, and that is the defilement. That's upakilesa. Don't let the rational mind come and fork fingers. Let the mindfulness, or wakefulness, or awareness, or diligence to deal it, and then there won't be any friction, because it is happening according to its own. And the example given is, as far as the canopy of the plant is well looked after, root knows where to find the nutrients, where to find the water. Roots never grow straight. But if it is something wrong in the roots, you can see the canopy is not healthy. But as far as the canopy is healthy, you must say, you can't monitor, you can't ask, you can't expect the root to grow in the direction that you need. A root knows where the nutrients, where the water is. So that is the way our faculty, our qualities, that is also known as faculties, Saddha, Virya, Sati, Samadhi, Panya, they are not growing, they are evolving. They are adapting according to the circumstances. That is beyond your control. Only you can observe it.
Dear Bhante, during sitting meditation, sometimes when I try to open my eyes, I feel I couldn't. I have to come out stage by stage. Is this real, or am I imagining this?
If the mind is very, magnetized, this can happen. And sometimes the opposite can happen. The blinking or battering, flattering also can take place. Still the mindfulness is there, and that is also possible. So therefore, whenever you are getting up from your sitting posture, or when you are opening the eyes, let it happen in the gradual basis. Otherwise you will break your neck. When you before getting up, give little exercises to see whether they are intact. Example I can give may not be much relevant. When you go to the space, it seems, if you live 1 month in a place where there is no gravity, 1/100th of your bone strength is reduced. If you are going to live 2 months, 2% of your strength will be reduced. So after a certain time you spend in the space, when you come back, there should have a special acclimatization process to regain the strength of the bones. So they put on a vibrator and slowly introduce to take the body weight. Otherwise you can collapse. So exactly the same, when the mind goes to a concentration or do away with nivaranas, it is a paradigm shift. So when you come back, you have to give the conducive condition. Yet another very interesting example is when a rocket or a shuttle go into space, and on the way back, when it is entering into the atmosphere of the earth, it has to enter in a specific angle. If you enter in the acute angle, it will burst and burn. If you go more flat, it bump off to the space. So it has to go, I think, 4.1 or 5.46, up to the 100th degree, the entering must be there. And then it has to rotate number of times before going through the 6 miles. We have the atmosphere. You don't feel atmosphere is such a powerful thing. But if you directly come, it will burst. So therefore, when you are opening eyes, or next thing, when you go back home, enter into the house in such a proper angle, otherwise you are bursting. So you must understand that you are now coming from a different vibration, different gravity. And when you are coming back to other beings, those who are in the sense, they can't adapt. They are hard and fast. You are the only person can think about. So when you are entering, don't go into 100% perpendicular burst. And you go with full flat, you will be pushed off from the sensuous being. So you must enter with a number of cycles, and then only you can go back to your day-to-day activities. So everything has this kind of acclimatization and adaptation, and only human can has this kind of a thing. Animals have no that chance. That's why we can evolve. We can go out and come back, go out and come back. Each time we do, we have to understand when you are entering, landing, it's a vulnerable place, dangerous place. So understanding, so therefore you become a amphibian. You can live in 2 dimensions. You can live in 2 equilibriums, 2 gravitational forces. So that is how our mind becomes fully open and enlightened.
Dear Bhante, sudden inexplicable tastes in my mouth, bitter or sour, so far not sweet. Also smells. Which elements do they relate to?
So usually it is with the water element, and what is the way the Zen Buddhism or the Mahayana Buddhism explain it is, it's also interesting. It says throughout our wakeful life, we bombarding our senses with different impingement, different signals, eye with different shapes and the colors, the ear with the different sounds, the nose with different smells, tongue with different tastes, and the body with different luxuries, and mind with so much of pet ideas. Imagine when you are cutting off from the senses, no more you are listening, no more you are seeing visual objects, eyes, it's gone retired, and no sounds, eardrum is at rest. And the nose, you may feel the breath at the beginning, and now breath also reduced. Of course, it is not the nose, it is a tactile sensation. And no smell, no taste, no touch. And if the mind also free, imagine such a dynamic department with 6, ministry with 6 departments, now completely stopped. But the mind work is there. So only they can do is, instead of expecting something out, it can project from in to out. That is what happens. It is from your library shots, your past memories, catharsis starts. You start to feel different pictures, mind-made. And some people listen, some sounds, some very rarely some has the smells and the taste, and different touch sensation and different pet ideas, unrelated ideas. That indicates no inward journey, but the faculty is running, department is running, so they are projecting. Ultimately, though, you start to see so much of fantasizing, daydreaming, mind-made world, and there you see how a concept can be a reality. Something coming from out, we can measure and see whether it's a reality or concept. But when mind going to project something, it is 100% concept, but our brain read it as 100% reality. because it is happening through the perception. So therefore, when you go into that, unexpected, unrelated thing happen. Earlier we had the salivation, and sometimes you feel jerks, sometimes you feel crawling animals, or like the raindrops, or heat bubbles, or needles running. These indicate that only introvert mind is now in the introvert journey, and this is the way it is fulfilling the space by mind projections. And if you are not skillful, and if you going to believe it, the perception, it is called Sanya Skandha, will take you for a ride. And you will say, I got a connection with the Deva, I got a connection with Brahma, I got connection with this and that, I can read others' mind, and all the kind of nonsense can happen. They are not nonsense, there is something also, but this time you have to suspect them, telling whenever there is no impingement coming outside, mind is producing or projecting. For that, you must be prepared.
Dear Bhante, when doing sitting meditation, when I feel any discomfort in my body, is it okay to reposition the posture without completely coming out of meditation and continue my practice? For example, move the leg forward or scratch when I want to scratch.
This is the part I usually use the term the body body knowledge, because body also and the physicality also gone through so much of aeons of time with adaptation to the nature. So each and every RNA, DNA and the nucleus and the cell, they have their own knowledge. So therefore, whenever you feel comfortable, up to a certain level, you can't perceive it. There's a huge pool, and some waves become very prominent. That can go beyond your perceptible level, and then it becomes unbearable. And then the best thing is, while you are keeping the attention or while mindfulness is intact, ask the body, okay, now you are in uncomfortability, what is the thing you need? How can I alleviate it? What is the comfortable thing? And when it happens, do it mindfully, slowly, silently. Slowly, mindfully, silently is what called SMS. So apply SMS and ask the body, are you okay now? If it is so, if the baby is sleeping, you can go for your work.
Dear Bhante, it takes time and effort to develop mindfulness. After that, what is the best way to make use of this mindfulness? As I understand, mindfulness fades away very soon.
So next thing is the diversification. You do mindfulness under laboratory condition. Everything is under control. All the variables are fixed. Let the mindfulness to come. And whenever you wanted to harden it, you let open some of the variables and ask the mindfulness to go for hardening. And slowly let loose all the variables and try to be mindful in the day-to-day activities. In agriculture, we have been taught, when we are conducting a research inside the laboratory, or inside the lab, we give the 100% humidity, 100% light, as much as possible fertilizer, as much as possible labor, and see that particular variety, how much it is producing under the conducive conditions. And that is called theoretical maximum. But you can't repeat, you can't expect that at the gross national level. So then what you do is, you plant them in the research field, enough labor, enough capital, enough fertilizer, but not under the laboratory condition, field level. And then you see the yield gap. There's a yield gap. Whenever everything is under control, maximum theoretical. And when it is in the field, but still with the research people and the facilities, yield gap. And then you give that particular variety, if it is good, to the best farmer or selected best farmers or farmer leaders, telling this is a potential variety. Would you mind to give us a plot or cultivate and see as a skillful farmer how much you can get. Never he can get the level up to the research field. And there's a yield gap. And then you compare, and still if the product is 40% more than the normal variety, then only you recommend it as a national level. This is how it happens. So mindfulness also in sitting meditation, room is air conditioned, soundproof. You sit in a comfortable position and nothing to worry about the other affairs. You give the maximum. And even then, if you can get it, if you can define it, if you can understand all the facets, I think it's worthwhile. And then when you go out for walking meditation, eyes are open and all the distractions are there, but still left leg to right leg to left leg, objects are changing, still mindfulness. And then when you are doing eating and other monastic work, there also try to be mindful. When you go back at home, there also you try to be mindful. That is how. And each time you feel like it is fading off. But it is the yield gap. You have to understand against the context. So that is the way, the depth and the width. In the day-to-day activities you get the width. It is working blanket effect to the many tasks. So it loses the depth. But when in the sitting meditation is very deep but very cracky sound, so anything can disturb it. So these two has to go in hand in hand.
Dear Bhante, I feel depressed about my little progress. My confidence and self-esteem are low. Do you have any advice? Thank you.
So you have to take the depression as your object of meditation. And it may be, of course, not material, but it is mental, but it's a free gift. So, as far as it is, given, free of charge, make use it. How is the mindfulness in the depression? How the mindfulness without depression? So I think it's a big task, because whenever the depression happens, you become flat off and exhausted and you don't feel like practicing. So therefore you make the depression as object of meditation and keep on practice. If you can gain or sustain even a little bit of mindfulness, it is much, much, much greater than the mindfulness you earn by in-breath and out-breath. Because this is a reality, this is something realistic. So therefore, make use, I would say recycle anything come along your way. So whenever you throw away the material from your kitchen and the garden, everything, they become nuisance or dirt. But if you know how to recycle them, ultimately end up like a good compost under the light of sun. Likewise, if anything happens, you can put under the light of mindfulness. Ultimately, they make the best organic fertilizer. So maybe I am too theoretical and I will not talk like this if I am in a depression. But as an answer, this is the way I can answer.
Dear Bhante, how to stop unwanted thoughts and emotions by force or resistance, or by allowing them to be, but then I can't help but engage in these unwanted thoughts and emotions?
It's also somewhat related to the early one, that is the depression, but you maximize the primary object. When and where there are no thoughts, no emotion, no depression. But you can't expect throughout the day Christmas. Christmas comes in once a year. Very rarely you get the maximum situation for the mindfulness to be on the primary object. Many things are happen. Whenever you are going to suppress them, you are asking for trouble. That is not what mean by see things as they are. Because they come due to a cause. They never come out of blue. So in order to understand the cause and effect relationship, if you are going to suppress something, that cannot be vipassana. Of course it is not, it is an unexpected guest or gate crasher. But mindfulness is such. Already now you are mindful, that is why you are asking question. Otherwise you can ask a question. Now it has come, so therefore don't try to push it away. And as far as it is coming and throbbing, be just aware. Don't expect concentration upon that. I am repeating. When you are dealing with these thoughts and emotions, depression, don't expect concentration to happen. Meagerly or with all the difficulty, you try to be mindful. Try to be mindful. So this is the way you have to compromise. But anyway, even that mindfulness is much better than the concentration you are craving for. So therefore, result orientation is the root cause for this kind of thing. So as if I am to quote Pandita Sayadaw, he says, your duty is to fulfill the causes, not to expect results. Expectation of results is you make yourself an opportunity. Without qualification, you ask results. So Vipassana yogi must understand opportunities. Whenever the causes are there, results happen. So you fulfill duties without have any kind of expectation, and that is what is called religious. That is why it is called spiritual. So you have to get aside supply and demand theory. Supply and demand theory is economics. Here it is not applied. You try to fulfill duties as much as possible. That is what we call the prestige. Ultimately it comes up to a level, spiritual prestige. Without any expectation of any results, you keep on practicing. No one can gauge you. Are you behind fame or gain or money or any kind? No, nothing. You do the task for the sake of doing. In monastic life, we call vata. Vata. We go to the Buddha and offer the Buddha puja and pay respect as if he is living. We keep the monastery very clean, whether it is used or not. You attend your teacher, whether he is a blood relative or not. You do the task and for the sake of doing, and that is how you train yourself. Otherwise our mind is always result oriented. So therefore, simple answer to the question is, don't suppress. When and where it is happening, be aware of it, or simply bookkeeping. Keep the accounts, and later it will be very useful to simply to understand who am I.
Dear Bhante, I notice anger build in the background of my primary object. Am I pushing too much in my practice? How can I balance this effort, and how can I reduce this anger tendency?
So instead of primary object, make anger as your primary object. So then it will be very frequent. And the other one is, if you find anger is so irritating, so disheartening, so exhausting, instead of selecting a particular object, develop a little bit of metta bhavana or loving kindness. So it's a kind of a balm. It says that when there's a cracky sound in your vehicle, what you do is apply grease or engine oil so that it lubricates. It's called sineha. The metta bhavana also known as sineha. You apply little lubricant, otherwise so much of friction. So instead of application of lubrication, if you are going to use the machine, too much of heat, too much of wear and tear. So if it is not working, you have to stop that and apply little grease or lubricant. So therefore, application of lubricant is the samatha method, and making the anger itself as an object of meditation is vipassana. There is of course Dhammanupassana. In Dhammanupassana, if you read anuppannang va vyapadang uppaddo asantang va vyapadang asantang va ajjattang vyapadang uppadoti tancha pajanati. My state of mind was without any anger. Now I feel anger come and sets in. And second thing, whenever the anger proceeds and prevails, now you know my anger is prevailing. And sometimes you know my anger is disappearing. So all these three come under Dhammanupassana. So therefore, for that of course you must have a well-seasoned mindfulness and thorough understanding of theory. Then only Dhammanupassana can happen. So even a split second, if you can deal with that kind of anger, that will be a groundbreaking. That is the way you learn the art of not to be angry with the anger. But untrained mind is always angry with the anger. And I think Ajahn Brahm gave a very nice example. When I am reading the books, one day he told there was a civil war or war in one part of the country. So king went to look after that, leaving the palace behind, and he asked the people to take care. He went out. And then a devil or yakka came to the guard room, and his nature is to consume the anger. And then the guard was so angry about, he called, I can't allow you to go away. More and more the guard became angry, the yakka consumed more and more angry, he became very powerful. More and more the guard became angry, he became powerful. When he pushed off the guard and went there, and the guard gave a signal. And internal workers got angry, so much so he became more and more powerful. Ultimately he went on the throne, so powerful no one can do anything. But the king came back after the successful war, and he came to know the huge yakka or devil came and took over. Every effort was useful, and what he did was, he went to the throne and see the powerful being. He told, how are you? After long time only I met you. I was waiting to see you and try to radiate metta. Slowly he became less and less. Ultimately just like ukuna, out of lice. He took it and threw away from the window, and again the king became the king. If you are going to be angry, anger becomes increased. So there is one book by Robert Turman, I think. They have written 6 destructive emotions after the attack to the World Trade Center. The person who is writing on the anger, he starts the book, may I not be angry with anger ever. That is a starting sentence in his preface. So we are so trained, whenever the anger happens, we become angry about the anger. That's the worst thing. So apply little balm or make the anger as an object of meditation.
Dear Bhante, in today's talk, when you spoke of metta as an antidote to anger, you quoted a passage in Pali to show that the Buddha wanted us to incline our mind to beauty and not fault-finding. Please, what was that passage and where can I find it?
So it is in the Samyutta Nikaya, Metta Sahagata Sutta. The name of the sutta is Metta Sahagata Sutta. And there the Buddha says, there is one monk, he go on alms rounds and he found it's too early. Ultimately he go to another monastery with another teacher. And when he go there, the house people are questioning, do you also practice metta? Do your Buddha also explain metta bhavana? And he give a fair explanation about what the Buddha taught him. And the other people, the house team, also told, our teacher also exactly the teaching the same. And then the Buddhist disciple become confused. And he came back and reported to the Buddha. And then the Buddha is explaining the metta bhavana, which you can make use as a foundation for vipassana and then cut through and go into the nibbana. The way they practice is just to have a frictionless living, not for the nibbana. highlighting that the Buddha says, we are also using metta. Subha paramahambikave metta ceto vimutting vadami. Ida panyasa uttaring apparividyantasa. Up to the Nibbana, you are using the metta as a positive thinking, or see only the love spots, see a reason to be glad, and that is the way you can make your monastic life kind of a balance. Otherwise, so much of thing to get irritated, and even the meditative life, so you must have enough metta, enough loving kindness to oneself as well as to the other being, as well as to the environment. So therefore, if you do not know the art, often you will go to self-mortification, hatred, and ultimately so much of physical and mental ailments.
Dear Maha Thero, when keep on meditating, should I come out from lock or continue? Because lock helps to continue without any pain in posture. There's 3 questions. This is the first one. So when keeping on meditating, should I come out from lock or continue? Because lock helps to continue without any pain in the posture.
So you have to master both. Some related example is, if you see the stages of metamorphosis of a butterfly, start as an egg and then become a pupil and then become a caterpillar, keep on eating, voraciously eating, and then go into the cocoon. Inside the cocoon, even no breathing. Everything cut off. But it is the place where the caterpillar become a moth or a butterfly. Everything changed. So within that period, it is locked. So likewise in the meditation also, at a time, you are locked to your senses. You are locked to your fellow beings. Locked to the environment. Locked to the sense impingements. So this is kind of one stage in the metamorphosis. And sometimes it may be within one sitting. So both of them are necessary conditions. They will come along your way. Don't try to interfere. Don't try to cross it. And keep the situation, whatever coming, as long as possible, so that it will come to the maturity. If you are going to interrupt it, it will take a long time for the maturity.
Next question is, when I don't feel my breath, what should I do with my mind? Should I focus on the object as my mind seems to be empty or free?
So this is the place you have to be aware of the just being. Or you are looking at the canvas. You can understand I am not dead. I am not sleepy or slept in a sleep. Or I am not unconscious. The being, just being. It is the most difficult art in the world. We are so crafty. We are so mischievous. Doing one or the other. When and where the opportunity happens, if you know how to wait without doing anything, that's the easiest way to understand the Buddha. So the most skillful thing is just to keep your physical, verbal and mental deeds at silence and be fully awake and aware, and that is the way, that is the only moment you are living fully. All the others, you are very partial. Either you are a seer or listener, smelling, tasting, touching. You are emphasizing one thing, enhancing one thing and blocking many things. But this moment, just being. It's a flat experience, but that experience never become senile, old age. And no difference from the morning to evening. No difference from posture to posture. All the 4 seasons, this experience is a flat. And that is the experience exactly. You can understand the other person. When that person also come to that, there's no difference. On top of that only all the other difference, identification and the qualifications and everything happen. So therefore be here and now, or be in the present moment. I use this as a solitude. I use this as a freedom. I use this as a contentment. I use this as the peace. And you are in your world, and it is contented one, and you have to go prepared, and then often you can go into that, and more and more practice, you feel like at home and back home. So that is the best friend or best kalyana mita that you can develop. That will never, betray you. All the other friends and anything can lose, but this is with you ever. But the thing is, you have to take conscious effort to be friendly with it.
Yeah, and the final question: do we need to do pilukul bhavana, and if so, at what stage? Piluku, yeah.
So as far as the kama chanda is concerned, that means sense pleasure is concerned, if you can tackle it with the mindfulness, that is the way, the vipassana way. Some people, it is so beyond control. For that, they have to do pilikul bhavana as a samatha technique in order to see the repulsivity of the body. And it is also one of the 4 guardian meditations against the kama chanda.
Dear Venerable Sir, when doing anapanasati, while concentrating on the breath, a stiffness develops in the center of my forehead, between the eyes, and my attention goes to that, and I lose attention on the breath. This creates a discomfort. What should I do? Please advise. Thank you very much.
As far as this attention developing is not a mind-made one, as far as it is just pulling your attention to that, don't worry that you are focusing the breath. Be aware of that, the tension or stiffness, and as far as it is there, consider this as the primary object. When and where this is faded off, or it comes in par with the breath, then only you have to reconsider to come back to the breath. So otherwise, this is kind of a natural thing, happen and came along your way. You are just making use it, but it appears that you have a negative feeling, thinking it as a disappointment or bad thing. If it is so, more and more you to associate with that the stiffness, you feel headache, you feel exhausted. That is because of your likings and disliking. So therefore, whenever you are observing such a thing, not materialistic, not a kayanupassana. So therefore, one thing is underlying tendencies that you dislike. The other one is just mere tension, stiffness. So therefore, the mind must be very, very lucid to see the underlying dislike, and that has not come into the light. And that is the point one has to work to understand the negative feeling towards this stiffness. The day you see it, you can see through.
Dear Maha, Thero, when samatha meditation happens, the yogi goes into a deep samadhi and staying motionless. I started with samatha and now I'm practicing vipassana. During vipassana, I find that I can adjust my position or adjust a pillow or straighten myself if I'm bent, etc. After doing these, I can still continue without much disruption to the flow of meditation. Is this okay? Is there a Vipassana Samadhi? Please explain. When I was doing Samatha Bhavana, when I am focused and in Samadhi, I did not hear any sounds, etc. around me. But when I am in Vipassana, even when I am observing what is happening inside, I can also hear what is going on around me, and I do not get distracted by these things. Am I not fully in my observation, or is this normal to Vipassana? Please explain.
No, with this respect, only what I have to mention is, don't try to discriminate Samatha and Vipassana. Just read or listen to Ajahn Chah. He is the only master I have seen, no discriminate Samatha Vipassana. He give attention and emphasis on the mindfulness and just see things as they are. If you are going to have a preconceived idea, this Samatha experience, this Vipassana experience, I think ultimately end up with a headache. Unwanted, unasked for. Just be aware of what is happening, or otherwise respect such a master. No Samatha Vipassana. We want to see things as they are. Of course, the seeing thing as they are is more biased to Vipassana. But through Samatha also, that is what we are going to gain. So therefore, when such a thing happens, sometimes you see the depth, sometimes you see the width, sometimes you see the canvas, sometimes you see the picture. Whatever may be, and now you are in the game. You are within meditation. So within that discrimination you can do, of course, if you are well versed in the theory, as well as after passing that particular exam. Before the exam, and with little bit of understanding, adding this Samatha and Vipassana, I think complicating, unwanted complication. Please see the progress of the mindfulness and wakefulness to the situation, and don't try to see good or bad, progressing or regressing, Samatha or Vipassana. This is rather leading to entertain doubts. Try to do away with as much as possible. Otherwise, explanation is quite healthy and natural.
Dear Bhante, thank you for a great talk today. In your talk today, you mentioned that sometimes one can think they understood something and it might appear to be correct, but it may not be exactly the right or correct understanding. Can you elaborate on this with an example or two, please? Thank you.
This is very admirable teaching you find in the Chanki Sutta. The Buddha is encountered with a very well-versed Hindu scholar, and he is so devoted. He is so thorough in practice. He has so much of experience, but he was so lucky to meet the Buddha and ask, and I am doing so much of with faith. I have so much of Tripitaka, Triveda understanding, theory understanding. And I am 16 years old, now Tarum. I am fully dedicated this. What do you think? Then when and where he mentioned I am with a full faith, the Buddha says, the faith is one aspect some people taken as criterion, but you selected as the faith may not contain the truth. But you rejected as not faithful may contain the truth. Likewise, he keep on giving all the 5 criteria. So likewise, there are some sparks, some electric thing. Whenever the coincidence happens, you come to know deep things. But if you are going to contemplate or regurgitate about that, ultimately what happens is you lose the present moment. And if something correct, if something due, mind you, it will happen repetitively and it will come to your doorstep. If you are going to catch all when and where it happens, that means something not due, something not mature enough. So second look, third look, fourth look are going to give a completely different picture. So therefore, the first day you see a girl and going to marry, after the marriage you may be completely give a different story. So you have to have a little affair longer time. Or you have to see horoscopes and let the parents come and see and come with a suggestion. Otherwise, the first impression is very volatile. So, as far as the first impression is concerned, everyone knows what our eye sees is not existing. What we hear is not the thing is there. So therefore, Westerners repeated with instead of eye, the camera. Instead of the ear, the sound. Everything started and they believe that. But the Buddha says, no, it is true. Our faculties are incredible, not trustworthy. Do it repetitively. Each and every time it happens, the value judgment is maturing. And asking examples, I am not really coming out with it. I am explaining the same thing on principle basis. So, repetitive application is what we call bhavana. The first impression is called asevana. Bhavita means that you can't do all the things. You select certain part and repetitively apply. Bhavita means you become master and you thorough about that. That is how the depth happens. So therefore, whatever thing happen, don't try to take it for the face value and let it happen again and again. When it is happening, your changes in your impression and the changes in that very particular object is known as anicca, viparinamata, hutva vibhavata, aniccata. That is what we are going to prove. Soon you are going to hold it, that is happening through the permanent notion. But you have to master impermanent notion or impermanent perception that is lasting.
Dear Venerable Sir, thank you very much for a wonderful Dhamma talk today. I was experiencing exactly what you explained during my meditation sessions today. I was feeling very distressed and did not know how to handle the sloth and torpor I was experiencing. I was not exactly asleep, but everything you said today fitted just right. I was awake with no possible outcomes. If I understood correctly, it will take quite a long time and much striving to get over this hurdle, even in a situation like at a retreat where one has the whole day to meditate. In 2 days I will be going home and back to all the chaos associated with it. At most I will have 1 to 2 hours, if I'm lucky, at my disposal for meditation. Can you please advise the best way to approach this moss on the water situation once I am at home? Your valuable advice and guidance is much appreciated.
So before going, you can ask Tanya whether you have rooms here and stay back. You are the very person deciding to go home and you know it is chaotic. And you are, why asking for trouble? If it is so clear. So therefore, I think that 1 or 2 days, still if you need, you can keep on meditating. Maybe that I am hitting the questioner. Person is questioning. And going back to that, the moss, moss. So that when the water being stagnated for a long time, it develops kind of a float algae and moss. So that ultimately for a distance it appears like a lawn. Never look like a water body. So if a person go and tell the other person, please go to the water hole and bring a pot of water, he may look at that there's no water, it's a lawn. But when the other person go and say it's a push here and there, and then underneath, crystal clear water. Exactly the way when the mind becomes slimy, when the mind becomes stagnated, there's a kind of a layer develops, and it never give reflection. It never allow you to see through the bed. It never reflects the other shore. Therefore, the basic quality of the water is removed and destroyed by these weeds and the moss and the fungus. And that is exactly the way the sleepy or slimy mind, congealing mind, Tinamidda, and so that does not make a permanent damage to your mind. It's a temporary setup, temporary cut across. So therefore at that time if you are going to be so depressed and give up, that means you are going to make a permanent notion out of this volatile situation. Instead, you have to keep on fighting and see a weak point and attack, and then you can see, after seeing there, the wide open brightness can come. So, when you are in a group meditation, you are challenged. Because you know if you are going to be dozing and nodding and kind of thing, unbecoming, so it is somewhat kind of a positive way you are pushing. If you are going to have a independent or individual place, easily you can fall into sleep. The Webu Sayadaw is one of the Sayados known as never sleeps. Dambulu Sayadaw also the same. Webu Sayadaw is the one who has given the inspiration for Uba King and later to the Goenka Ji. And he says when the yogis are going to meditate, they first prepare the bed and keep the pillow side and sit on the bed. When you slowly, the sleepiness creeping, they just lean into the bed. In Sinhala, we call it is Buddhi Yanawa. You never get Buddhu Yanawa. Buddhu Yanawa, Buddhi Yanawa. Buddhu Yanawa means becoming a Buddha. Buddhi Yanawa means you will sleep. They are very close. So therefore, it is the biggest enemy. When there is no any distraction, when everything is good, sleepiness coming. So therefore, you have to keep on fighting, and the anger and desire work against. Whenever the anger is there, no sleepiness. Whenever the burning desire, no sleepiness. Whenever these two defilements are out, then the third man comes. So you have to have your landscape of your mind or your subconscious. That particular thing, you can't give it on the contract basis. You have to do yourself. And even if you are a master, you can't give that experience to someone. So therefore you have to fight with it.
Dear Venerable Sir, what is your advice about when the mind gets obsessed? And of course, what is the cure?
You have to understand obsessional kind of defilements, and that is the reality under your very nose. And don't try to put in the obsession. The Buddha has given 5 forms: Kamacchanda, Vyavada, Tinamidda, Uddaca, Ukkucca, Vicikicca. As far as you take as a whole bunch, it is unbreakable. Once you divide it into 5, some parts are breakable. So that is what the merit of analysis, splitting. When once you split, you can take the weakest one and break. And one by one you can break it. So therefore, obsession, study in the 5-fold, sometimes as 7-fold, because Uddaca Ukkucca you can separate into 2, Tinamidda you can put into 2, in the Parisambhidha Magga it has been presented as 6, whatever it may be, analyze it, and analyze it when and where it is red-handed. You can't do it on theory basis. Before the sleepiness comes, you can't see the qualities. After the sleepiness gone, you can't do. While it is there, you have to do. So obsessional defilements is something immediate, something under your very nose you have to do. So this is what you call the meditating world. That is, once you go through, you become a good meditator.
Dear Bhante, when we are practicing Sila, we should not lie, but sometimes in life and society we need to be polite and diplomatic. Hence a white lie may be used. For example, someone gives you a gift with all good intentions, of course. I might not need it or like it and might donate it to the Salvation Army. Next time that person meets me and asks whether I like the gift, what else can I do but smile and say, very nice, thank you. There's no malice intended. Is this accumulating bad karma? If so, can one get out of such a situation? Please explain kindly.
So according to this example, yes, it is nice, it's not lying. Because you have made use it in a proper this thing. You have not explained that you are consumed or give it to the Salvation Army, so you have your right to say it is nice. There's a very detailed story about the white lying. The Pandita Sahib only told me one day, there was a couple beggars, and ultimately the female became pregnant. And dola dukata mokada kiyanne? Craving. So she got a kind of a desire. She wanted to have a meal from the palace. And it's a hell of a case because for the beggar to do it. So ultimately he shaved and rubbed the robe and like a monk went to the palace on Pindabad. So king was in the mood to give in, but he got the suspicion, telling that he is not true to type. And he asked spy to follow. And he followed and found that person after taking the ball and went there into a ambalama, kind of a rest house, resting place, and found that wife is pregnant, and he did the task. And the spy now in a situation, if he is going to tell the truth, king will kill the person. If he is going to lie, his life is in danger. So what he did was he went to the king. He told it appeared to be very powerful monk. He went far away and shape disappeared. And I was so elated to see that color disappeared and everything. Then the king told, it's how nice to have a meal with that kind of a thing. Thank you very much for your mission. Everything went nicely. And the other one was that one day with the famous king Gamini and Tissa, Duttagamini and Tissa, they were fighting each other. Ultimately the younger brother, there's no refuge, creep into the monastery. And then the elder brother is coming with the sword, and monks saw the situation and hide him under a bed, and later covered with him on a plate, covered with a rope, took him away as a corpse. So the elder brother coming and saw the trick of the monks. And now we can't do anything because it is like a dead body of a monk removed by the monks. So the Gami is well respected, and he asked, Bante, did you see my brothers? And then at that time there were some monks sitting and some monks standing. Standing monk sit down, a sitting monk got up and told, while sitting I did not see. Then the elder brother came to know they love my younger brother. So that is the way they trick it. So never mind, as far as out of the respect of the monks, he gave pardon. And later the Tissa became the king, reigned the country for longest and did the best for the Sasana. So it is also depend on the happened on the white lies. So these things are happening. So you have to be very strategic. Not to caught up in, but our language is so slippery. So you have to use accordingly, otherwise so much of problem. Don't worry about the grammar, don't worry about anything. Be appropriate, and it is yet another passing show.
Dear Venerable Bante, is it correct to say that a yogi progressing in the path will not encounter Nissaranas after certain stages? That is, that he or she will not have any doubt after Maggapala, Kamachanda and ill will not bother him after Anagami Pala. However, regrets about the past and planning for the future, as well as sloth and torpor, can be there till the final stage. Could you kindly clarify this, please?
Of course, that on the samatha basis, they attending to arpana samadhi, the absorption, you have to do away with nivaranas, but it's temporary. But your samatha concentration will be full-fledged once you become anagami. Then onward, nivaranas will not come and distract further. But it is telling even that this sloth and torpor can be a nuisance, because up to the anagami, you get rid of uddhangama, orambhagya sangojana. Uddhambhagya sangojana is remaining. Orambhagya means sakkaya dittha vicikicca silabbata paramasa kama raga patiga will be removed. But rupa raga, arupa raga, mana, uddacca, avijja is remaining. The uddacca is a kind of agitation. So the concentrated mind itself can be recognized as sleepiness. But it's not a permanent mistake, this can happen. So even you are a beginning yogi, at a time, when and where you are observing the disappearance of the breath, if you are thin slicing of time, you can see the disappearance, and all of a sudden you get a jerk and come out of meditation and see, you can't remember the past few seconds or few minutes. Now you do not know whether it's a sleep or kind of a mental state. Due to the uddacca, that your perplexity of the mind, often, if you are not a learned person, if you have no correct instruction, you will think the mind fall into sleep. So in that, now I am going to take this issue because it is interesting for the yogis. So Pandita Sayadaw, he says, before going into sleep, if you are with the primary object, after the jerk, if you are coming to the primary object, that means it is not a sleep, it is a deep meditation. But you are going into the sleep with the wandering mind, and if you are after awakening, still if you are in a wandering mind, that can be recognized as a defilement or as a sleep. So this can happen even in the advanced level. So therefore, whatever now we are painting a picture, this is Kamacchanda, this is Vyapada, but there you can't delimit it, unless otherwise you get a mere configuration. And you have to repetitively apply and understand them in a discrete way. So therefore, when it is happening, don't take it so seriously thinking that I know it and I have mastered it like that. Even then, keep on practicing. So therefore, there's always in each and every aspect, ambiguity is there. Sometimes the opposite is the correct. So that you can only get rid of by repetitive application. If you are going to arrive at the decision and going to say this is correct, later your very experience will disprove it. But without attending our decision, keep on practicing, that is to call the evenly suspended attention, and the maturity and the time will tell the truth.
Dear Venerable Sir, at one point you mentioned about seeing nothingness or emptiness. How can anything and everything be empty, but for a few insignificant amounts of matter? Then again, you mentioned about enjoying trees, birds, waterfalls, etc. My question is, where do you draw the line?
It's very, very difficult, but I will give a very homework, someone to work, also given by Upandita. Imagine you are looking at a television screen, black and white or colored, no program, but the dots are happening. And you know it is within 1 inch and 63 or 64 dots are happening, or that is resolution. When it is happening, if you carefully observe, never 2 drops are hitting each other. And the other quality is, each and every drop has its own beginning, its middle, and its end. So therefore, in between 2 drops, that means there should have a space. Simultaneous 2 drops not hitting each other means there should have a space. But our eyes are not geared to see it. Our eyes see only available positive things. Our senses are so cheating us. So you have to have null hypothesis, everything happening in a blank space, and only we can see dots. But if the dots are not hitting each other, that means there should have a space. If I am, that's a homework. And the other thing is, we'll say this hall we are using for a party. And we have a lot of hydrogen balloons. A lot of things are floating here. And whenever someone comes, did someone see the space here? Only they see the balloons. Balloons are very striking, so you can see. But let the hall be 3 days, ultimately balloon will deflate and they will fall down. And then when you go there and see, you can see no balloons, but you can't see the space. And the other example is, now, if you look at the sky, it is dark. But if there are any celestial object, it will bright because it reflects the sunlight. If there is nothing to reflect, it appears like dark, but the sky is full of sunlight. If there is something to reflect, it glows, it reflects, but not by its own light, it is reflecting sunlight. Otherwise you see nothing, but it is full of sunlight. So these are the Drustimaya, I don't know how to put it in English. Our eyes are always see something positive, something graspable, something measurable, Maha, something have a reference to me. I am bigger than that, small than that. Whenever you go to the space, nothing to grasp, nothing to compare, you are nowhere. So that is the way our whole worldly knowledge is. So there is no other way other than the worldly knowledge. So therefore learn, study, be thorough, whatever available, again and again. One day you will see through it and you find majority of the space, majority of the volume is the space. Now scientists they say, all when you are observing the space, maximum is 4%. 96% either dark matter or dark energy. No dark matter, no dark energy can observe through instruments. But without that, you can't explain the volume. But we are so expert and masters on the physics. So even if you are 100% master, you can master only 4% of the matter. All the 96% you are nowhere, but the Buddha, he knew everything. That is why he called omniscient. Our senses are so cheating, so therefore have a null hypothesis, whatever available, scrutinize, split, analyze and see. Ultimately when it reduces, it will merge into the energies, and that is ultimately space, and some people it's called sunyata, some people call this is emptiness or matter or nama rupa, whatever it may be, according to your defilements, according to your refinement, whatever may be, you see what you see that you are. So more and more you refine, you are bound to see the range. So therefore, the space is a kind of a thing we consider as something lost, something disappointed. But the Buddha says, the space is there are no knots, no friction, no partition possible, no lion share you can have. So space is the path to explain the deep mentality. So at least you have to see the materiality in terms of the space, and then you find you are expert only on the 4%. All the rest is not applicable to our, not consumable, not palatable to our senses. Can everyone hear the question? Yeah, that is the indicator of refinement of your mind. When the mind is well refined, you can see through. If the mind is gross and it's engrossed with, so you see individual, you see shapes, and you see gravity and all the kinds you attribute. But when mind is refined, you are not get blocked by that. You can see through it. So you are the very person. Have different gradation, different levels. It depends on how much defilements or how much refinement it is happening. So that possibility only available in human mind. No, you can't imagine in the animal realm or in the ghosts and the yakka and kind of thing. They are so destined with their instinct. But the human mind is so plastic. So that is why train your mind and change your brain. More and more you train your mind, you see your whole personality traits, your brain configuration and the hardwiring can be changed. That is why called the plasticity. And that is what the Buddha says, the biggest gain we got as human. That unlucky enough, we are destined our telltales, I know this and I am that, I am this and all the kinds of, we are the one we crucify ourselves, ultimately get the friction.
Through something to see the canvas, do you always have that form as a prerequisite to seeing the formlessness?
Okay, let's see if I can paraphrase it. So, can we take awareness as an object of awareness? Can we be aware of awareness? Just as can we be aware of the canvas that we're painting on itself? Or can we just take the sky as the object, not the sky with clouds, right? Can we see form, or can we see formlessness without form?
I will give one sentence, I don't know whether that's the thing. You have to be somebody before becoming nobody. From the nobody you can't start. First you have to see, I am a male, I am a Dhammajiva, I am a blah blah blah, you take it. And then you disprove it. Keep on disproving, ultimately everything gone, you become nobody. So therefore the stock phrase is, you have to be somebody before becoming nobody. That is why Buddha says, take materiality as something concrete. And analyze it. You take it and put into null hypothesis and keep on analyzing all the facets, all the grossness, all the subtlety, and when you see through it, you see the materiality is there, but it's an agglomeration. It's a kind of putting things in together, but when you separate it out, the example given is, when the bees are got together, we call a hive. But the winds are flying, what happened to the hive? Still the bees are there. They are in the sky, in the scattered. No more hive. So what happened to the hive? And imagine yet another way. There's a water body. The whirlpool is there. And then you can say this whirlpool is bigger than that. It is in the north side and right side. It has a more centrifugal power and all the kind. When the whirlpool is dissolved into the water, where it goes? And it starts from the water and it's all in the water. So in order to have a pragmatic way, you first fix something. You make somebody and try to disprove. That is in the scientific jargon, it says you have in your objective you have a null hypothesis and you disprove it one by one. 95% disprove means 100% disprove. So this is the way it happens. So therefore by contemplating, just only by mental thinking, you can't get enlightened. It is very pragmatic.
This is not an intellectual exercise that I'm talking about. I understand
So you as a experienced yogi, you know the canvas, you know the picture. So therefore you may be successful in just seeing the canvas. But I am talking not for a person who has fair experience, but I am talking for the beginner. First you have to tell the picture. And study the picture, then only you have to say, you can't paint pictures on the sky. It must be a canvas. So then only you lead into the canvas. Once you see it, you can't do away with not seeing.
But when I attempted to actually do this practice, it's a practice from Moggallana. You get strong dissolution of boundaries and into a void space, and it's very high energy, and I can't hang in with it very much. But there's the quality of turning awareness in on awareness, experientially, emotionally, feels for me like massive dissolution of sense of self, boundaries, and real formlessness. But it's such a high thing, can't hang in.
Yeah, so that the two ways, conventional way and the absolute way, a person who knows both can start from either way. But when you are prescribing the way, when we give in the Anubhubba Sikha, Anubhubba Kiriya, Anubhubba Pratipada, always you start with the convention. Through the convention only you can go to the absolutes.
Dear Bhante, is mindfulness more than just present moment awareness? I still have doubts.
At the beginning you take the present moment of awareness, and when you are developing mindfulness, that very mindfulness itself is evolving. Within the 37 factors of enlightenment, it appears 8 times. Satipatthana mindfulness, mindfulness as a faculty, mindfulness as a energy, power, and mindfulness as a bojjhanga, and mindfulness as a ariyatangika magganga. So each and every one has some more nuance, more refinement. So therefore at the beginning you take present moment awareness. And more you practice. You add more and more shades, more and more nuance. So start with what is prominent.
Dear Bhante, I will die, that's for sure. However, I am not totally convinced about rebirth. Please help and provide references.
No, Buddha is taking this question. He says, don't take it granted telling due to my telling. So, put it in a question that no rebirth, no karma, no good begets good, no bad begets bad. Under such circumstances, you may do good and the bad in the equal way. There is no restraint because there is no background philosophy. So therefore, whenever, if there is going to have a rebirth, ultimately when the bad consequence is going to happen, you have to regret. Whether you accept it or not, if you are going to restrain thinking, good begets good and the bad beget bad, you, whenever possible, you may try your best not to do bad things, whether you have a rebirth or not. Whatever the combination, you are better off. That's the way Buddha is putting it in the pragmatic way. He never asked someone to believe due to the telling of the Buddha. But it's a hypothesis, karma, and you can accept it or reject. But he says, if you are practicing, within 7 years, maximum, you can prove it to yourself. Minimum, so within 7 days, you can prove it to yourself. For example, your ignorance from this moment to the next moment, it is transferring within that number of momentary deaths. That is happened in the micro level. So exactly the same thing happened in the conventional way, so-called conventional death, and then your neurosis continue to arise because it is unsolved and unsorted out questions they are carrying.
Dear Maha Thero, what is the meaning of mithya dusiti? I don't know, they've written down mithya dusiti. one of the akusala. And then, this is really, really strangely written, but anyway, does Bodhi Puja and praying for the gods, etc., if praying for the gods is not reality, why are those things practiced in Buddhist temples? And some say that the Kataragama god will become the future Buddha. What is your opinion on these topics?
So last time also we discussed about how the virya evolves, and today just I explained how the mindfulness evolves. Ditti also there are 5. Preliminary is Kammasakata Jnana Sammaditi, good begets good and the bad begets bad. The second thing is Samatha Sammaditi, that means when and where you cut off the Nivaranas, you can see too. And next you go to the Vipassana Sammaditi, see things as they are. Whatever may be the things, everything is changing. Everything ends up with suffering. Nothing is under control. And then when it is maturing, it comes out of the Magga Sammaditi, you see that can be realized. And then Pala Sammaditi, that you can master it. So these rituals and all the kind of thing, and pinya, power, everything comes under the Kammasakata Jnana Sammaditi. So it is a prevalent thing whether Buddha is appearing or not. And the commentator specifically says, this very ditti, good begets good, the bad begets, never become popular. Never become majority, but always it is minority. Whether Buddha is here on the earth or not, some little amount of people, they accept it. So you have to compare it with Samatha Sammaditi, Vipassana Sammaditi, Magga Sammaditi, Pala Sammaditi. So if you are going to fix everything into the Kammasakata Jnana Sammaditi, you can't answer it. So this all question happen due to the permanent notion. You try to fix it, you try to crucify it, and then you get hooked up. But the things are changing. You have to have the pragmatic, you have to have dynamism, dialectic nature, and that is how you can get out of the trap. So therefore this Sammaditi, many layers, this is what I referred, but there's a Sammaditi Sutta, 25 ways of presenting the same. So many ways, so therefore use the appropriate technology, don't try to fix everything, put the knowledge you have to the everything. Everything is so dynamic.
Dear Venerable Sir, it seems to me that nowadays we've gone to the extreme that becoming a Sotapanna is easy, taking it very easily. Surely this is leading to a global meditation crisis. How do we ensure that we put things into perspective?
So if you are going by advertisements, you may purchase a lot of things thinking each and every advertisement is correct. Every advertisement is correct for that company to increase profit, their profit, not you. So therefore you have to decide utility value, the amount of money you have, what to purchase. Exactly the spiritual market, supermarket, lot of things available. If you want to have a quick results, if you are an opportunist, by selecting this and that, you can also have a label or certificates telling this and that. So exactly this is a commodity. It's a commercial world. So therefore, if you are going to buy a gym, and ultimately, if you are being cheated by selling a piece of plastic, you can't find fault with the merchant. You are the person getting trapped. So therefore, before purchasing, you have to have a professional person to test it and see. So this is something you have to take the responsibility about yourself.
Dear Bhante, what is Bhavatana and Vibhavatana?
So this is also very vast area, but one philosopher told in this way, if you ask another of the same thing, it is Bhavatana. You say, I need another clock of the same, it's a Bhavatana. He says, I don't like this, I need another thing, that is Vibhavatana. That is the simple way, it is by Mr. Kalupahana, he is telling the Buddhist philosophy. He says that asking the same thing again and again, multiplying bhavatanna. You hate the present thing, asking something is vibhavatanna.
Dear Bhante, are the three doorways to Nibbana Sunatta, Apanita and Anicca? If a person is a Vitakka character, is he more likely to realize Nibbana through Apanita? Can you please explain?
So, getting into the realm of Nibbana also happening in the Sotapanna level, Sakadagami, Anagami, Arhat. This is related to the final goal at the Arhatta Pala Samadhi. So, before that, while you are breaking off 3 shackles out of 10, there is also you are entertaining certain amount. You have a glimpse of Nibbana, and they are the Vitakka Charita. Vitakka means that 2 meanings are there. Vitakka Charita is contemplative kind, or kind of technically it says adverting mind. So it's very difficult to concretely say these people are going to enter into the mention of Nibbana through Animitta or Apanihita or Sunyata, because it is happening in gradual basis.
Dear sir, you mentioned about the radiant mind and how it is covered with a layer of dirt. Is it correct to say that the same is happening in animals, only the difference is that the layer of dirt covering their mind is much thicker?
More than that, animals can't understand their present setup. They can't diagnose the present setup. So because it's an instinct, they are evolutionary, they are so bounded with the instinct, so they can't have a rational thinking or radical thinking. Human also, those who are not believing, that is Michchaditi, they will never take this endeavor, so this exercise. So they are also missing the bus. So those who have real diagnosis and real Anubhubba Sikha, Anubhubba Kiriya, Anubhubba Patipada may hit the target. So therefore, very difficult for us to experience the animal experience or animal perspective, but with or without success, one can do one's own. So later you can do deductive way. If I am so here, it may be the other. If I am here, this way for me, this will be the animal, but they are always deductive, inferential.
Dear Bhante, how does Buddhist meditation practice differ from the meditation practices of the followers of other faiths? The followers of other faiths. How is Buddhist meditation different from those?
So I read books on Catholic meditation, Sufic meditation, Hindu meditation, and each and everyone, maybe after the Buddha or before Buddha, they explain Apadopachara Samadhi. Amazing that when you read Sufic books, they say, we have the 9 epithets for Buddha, Itipiso Bhagavarahan Samma Sambuddha, they have 99 terms or qualities or epithets for the Allah. This is take one thing, sit cross-legged, keep the hand upon hand and recite it, and then explain this is the way mind is going to refine. So each and everything is there. So beginning, no differences. But their aim, worldly. Buddha says, worldly gains are byproduct. But final aim is to see things as they are, or emancipation. So therefore we can't look down other religious practices. They also have. And even the Muslim and the Sufic book explain like this, 99% of the Buddhists are not practicing. They are below than Muslims, in that sense. So therefore, to compare it, very difficult, because we are very narrow-minded. We have sectarianism. We think we are better off. We are born Buddhist and we are practicing Vipassana, all kind of thing. But there are designations that we give ourselves. Don't be narrow-minded. Go by results.
Dear Bhante, are lay people able to stay at your monastery, both men and women? And When you say we should have a sound book knowledge, how should we go about it? Systematically reading the sutras and making notes? Where should we start?
So if you wish to learn any skillfulness subject, it's the same question, same problem. Example is, when you are learning your mother tongue, you don't know the method. When you are learning the second language, you have to have a method. The convention in the world is like our mother tongue. But the absolutes is a completely a second language. So you have to take effort. But even then, if you are going to take different or michaditi or something like that, you will be investing time and taking, but ultimately you may be misleading. So therefore, it's still trial and error. You have to run your own risk. So therefore, we are in a retreat. We give talks, we take question and answer session and practice, and we have our common sense. We put everything together and set the momentum. And ultimately it is catching slowly. Only thing I am asking is, don't try to accelerate. Don't try to be smart. Just keep the pace, and that is the easiest way. Reach Nibbana without breaking your neck.
Dear Bhante, sometimes I take a little brandy when I get a stomach upset. Am I breaking the fifth precept? Sometimes I take a little brandy when I have a stomach upset. Is this breaking the fifth precept? I was just going to say, in Ireland we have, when we're sick we take whiskey, and when we're well, how's it go? Well, yeah, whiskey when I'm sick makes me well, whiskey when I'm well makes me sick.
You have to repeat it, I can't remember. The only thing is, if you wish to take brandy or whiskey, relinquish the precepts, respect the precept, and take it, no harm. So the Buddha says, if you are a full-fledged bhikkhu, and if you are so obsessed with erratic feeling or sexual thing, if you are about to break, the best thing is to tell consciously another person, please understand, I am relinquishing my precepts. And then he do intercourse or whatever may be. And later, after that he comes, no, he is so temporary, again he come and ask, I would like to be a bhikkhu. You have to give. You can't refuse it, because he has respected the precepts by relinquishing, not only by observing and administering. By relinquishing, you give the due place. So therefore, use it as a tool. It is not the end by itself. And no taboos. Nothing to get emotion. And precepts are not for tension, not for frustration, not to create problem to people. But it is to release the people, so use it in a pragmatic way.
Okay, that actually finishes the questions. There's one announcement from Ramani, and it's that she has 4 copies of Inner Listening, and those who have had the experience can come and get a copy on the last day.
So anyone translating that into Sinhala? So someone those who wish to read, if it is practical, please, someone who is skillful in the English and Sinhala, do the first task. I will do the refining and the printing. So I am keeping that issue open. So anyone who wish to take the step can consult Ramani.
The question was, are lay people able to stay in your monastery?
No, that when only the monastery, when we are accepting the yogis in Nissarana, we say it is a general fact, you have to abide by 8 precepts. If it is not so, the properties and the 4 requisites are meant to be misused. People are giving, specifically at the background in the Nissarana, all free of charge, all donations. So they expect everyone using is at least basic at the 8 precepts. So we at the website we say, if you are applying for a retreat, you must understand this is our norm. I'll tell you one example. When I was, that's about 10 years ago maybe, there's one right reverend from America came to know about the Nissarana, and he told, I heard that you all are maintaining the monastic code, and I am so happy to come and practice under your situation. I am a right reverend, that means a very high rank in the Catholic Church. Then what I did was, I sent the constitution. And he asked, what does it mean by the Pindapata? What does it mean by the Kutipota? Like he asked few questions. But I know we are in the two different worlds. Luckily there was an Irish monk, not the Venerable Buddha Akita. And I told him, now there's a kind of a dialogue going on. And he's keep on asking, now he's telling, now I am about to go to the embassy. I'm going to purchase ticket. And please explain. And then I told, why don't you write it? But this is the meaning of Pindapata, this is the meaning of the Kutipota, and kind of thing. Just tell him that we have to abide by 8 precepts. The next question is, what does it mean by? And once he given, no more communication. Finished. So that whenever we are running institute, we have to dictate terms. Within that frame only we can work. So therefore, as this is a monastery and it's a retreat center, you have to rule it out. Then if it is so, they can do individual retreats without observing precepts and try mindfulness. But when we are organizing something like that, the organizer, the manager, administration, they have to take the basic. So that you, for my opinion, you don't compromise. If you are going to compromise, no end. And in Nissarana also we had some situation. Some people wanted to have the night dinner. And earlier, in the special cases, we allowed. Ultimately, it became a problem for the workers and all the kind of thing. There was no limit. Now we are writing. These are the rules and regulations of the lay people. These are the rules and regulations of the monastics. And please don't apply if you are not up to the mark. So this is the way we have to have the standard. But you can decide what are the standard. And it must be an open trump game. You have to tell them before. And then anyone can decide by themselves. Yeah, no problem, because 8 precepts said maintaining celibacy. Yeah. So that they are boyfriend and girlfriend at the outside world, but for within the set, they are yogis. So even if it is not so, they have to abide by, otherwise they don't understand either. Well, you have to clearly explain. So first thing I do is let them to listen to the instruction tape, and we give some kind of rules and regulation. I go and ask, do you understand the instruction tape? And we are going to take 8 precepts. Do you understand 8 precepts? Are you comfortable with the rules and regulation? Otherwise, please let us discuss. Tomorrow onward, we are not going to discuss. For please, if there is a question, you have to ask. You have to sort it out, because many people do not understand precepts. So therefore, we give in English translation, and sometimes some details about some obscure precepts. So that is a little task. We keep as much as possible open. Okay, today little worst, and because 2 hours and 10 minutes. And hope there are no more other questions. With that assumption, I would like to come out with the idea of sharing merits with all the seen and unseen beings. So we are going to share merits with all the seen and unseen, and with recitation of the traditional stanzas. Those who are familiar may recite while others listening attentively.